Hello, my friend, and welcome to the Keeper of the Home podcast. I'm Cami, creator of the blog and YouTube channel Tidbits and Company. Thank you for joining me today. Now, fall is in the air, and I wanted to hop on here and share a podcast episode with you, just full of ideas of how you, as the keeper of your home, can bring this cozy time of harvest and gathering and abundance right into your home and help you just live more fully in this beautiful autumn season. So I'm excited to share some of the ideas I have with you. But first, I've got some podcast housekeeping items. So September is Emergency Preparedness Month, and I just want to bring this up to you to maybe get you thinking about what you can do to help you and your family be more prepared for emergencies. Now, something that my husband is working on, and I'm really excited we're finally doing, he has actually been typing up kind of a document full of like emergency protocols for us, like what to do if the power goes out, what kind of switches to flip on the breaker if this or that happens, or where are the power lines that we should be aware of, or how to actually use the generator. I am so relieved that he's doing this and that he actually thought about doing this. And I encourage you to do the same. And the reason, I guess, to do something like this is, well, for myself, I have a tendency to think that if we have an emergency, my husband will know what to do. But in reality, the odds that he would actually be home, or that the man of the house that knows all these things, or even if you're the one that knows all these things, the odds that they'll be home during an emergency are actually kind of slim since they're out of the home so much. So it's important for everyone in the household, even the kids, the older kids, if needed, know what to do or where to go to find out what to do in the case of an emergency. So that's something we're working on. It might be something that you can think about bringing up to the family and figuring out what you could do to just type up documents that shows step-by-step of what you might do in an emergency. And I think one of the most important things to compile in your home to be prepared for an emergency is like an evacuation kit, or sometimes called 72-hour kits. This is something that we've always had, and it gives me so much peace of mind. But if you feel a little overwhelmed with this project, fear not. Kevin and I have created an emergency evacuation preparedness class that I think will be really valuable for you. If this idea overwhelms you, our class actually has all the checklists of the items that you'll need, and I've actually compiled Amazon storefront pages that I link to every single item. So if you don't want to like be thrifty or take your time putting this together, you can actually go over and click on my storefront that you get a link to when you enroll to this class, that you can just buy all the items right there and be able to assemble everything when it comes. I really wanted to make this super easy and doable for you so that you will actually do it and help your family all be prepared in case you had to evacuate quickly. So I hope you'll check that out. You can go to tidbitsandcompany.com, then you'll click over to my shop page where we have all our classes listed and products, and find that there. And I really hope you'll join me for that class and take advantage of this resource. Something else that you might see over on my shop page is we have restocked a lot of our linen items. So we have more linen sachets, more linen eye pillows that we have sold out of. Those are all now restocked. Definitely check those out. And if I can get it out in time for this podcast to go out, we have a new beautiful linen tea towel that would be like absolutely perfect for your fall decor. It's this kind of brown and white gingham tea towel. It's actually the leftover fabric that I had for our pantry cabinet curtain, and I had a ton of leftovers, so I sent it over to my sister-in-law who sews the linen products, and she whipped up a batch of these linen tea towels. They're gorgeous, and they are limited. So if you want one of those, definitely grab them. If they're not live on the shop, keep an eye out. You can always subscribe to my newsletter updates. That's where I send out the very first notices of new products. So head over to tidbitsandcompany.com for all of that goodness. Something else I wanted to share with you that went out recently on my blog and YouTube channel is we did kind of a mini kitchen makeover where we refreshed our DIY butcher block countertops that we built a while ago. They were in need of some repair, and I often get asked about how they're holding up. So if you're curious about, butcher block countertops, making them yourself to save a lot of money, you might want to go over and check out my newest blog post and video to show you kind of that update and then what we needed to do to get them looking new and functioning well again. So if that interests you, definitely head over there. Now, on my blog, I actually, since we're talking about fall here, I have probably my biggest section on my blog is devoted to fall topics because I love fall. I love this season, and I have created so many blog posts through the years about fall content. So if you want to dive in, if I mention some things here on this podcast today about fall, and you want to go find the recipes or the ideas, definitely look up my fall archives. If you just go to tidbitsandcompany.com, on the menu, I actually have a seasonal drop-down menu where you can click over to fall and see all my fall content. I really hope you find some great inspiration there to motivate you to fully live in this current season that we're in. Okay, let's get to the topic of today, where I get to just share a lot of ideas with you on how to enjoy this fall season and bring that into your home and make those memories. Now, normally a topic like this I would probably do on the blog or a video because I'm a very visual person. However, I just have so many ideas that I actually want to do and create, and I couldn't possibly create all that content and get it shared in time or compile it for you. So I actually thought this would be a great podcast episode where we just chat about it. And I talk to you about ideas that you could do that maybe I won't actually do or get time to do, but that I think are great ideas. So we'll just kind of spitfire all these ideas and get you thinking, get you excited and inspired. Now, if you were with me for a previous podcast where I talked about the importance of seasonal living, that's why I really kind of want to dive into each season and help you actually envision what seasonal living looks like by giving you ideas for each season. So I'll probably be back for like winter, spring, and summer, but today let's talk all things fall. So I want to share ideas with you about how you can embrace seasonal living this fall in the categories of food, home decor, activities, and personal growth. So those are the 4 areas that I will go over. Let's first go over food, because what is fall without food? I feel like the food in the fall season is one of the most aromatic, nostalgic, and tastiest times of the year. So you have to bring in thoughtful foods that will help your family and yourself really feel like you're making the most of this delicious season. Now, my first suggestion for you is to stock up or make a really big batch of pumpkin pie spice. So you can buy it in the stores, and it's certain spices compiled together. But I actually created a blend myself that is my biggest preference by far. So if you want to go over to my blog, you can type in pumpkin pie spice, and I've created a recipe for you. You can make it in smaller batches or one big batch. I usually make a big batch and usually have to make it 2 or 3 times during the fall and winter season because we use it so much. It is just a surefire and simple way to add some seasoning to your fall foods to really amp up the fall flavors. So once you make that big batch of pumpkin pie spice, here are some ideas for what you could put it in. So think about any warm drink. If you drink coffee, you can make kind of your own pumpkin spice latte. Sounds delicious. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I love CRIO brew. If you've never heard of CRIO brew, we need to chat more. I do have a YouTube video all about my obsession with CRIO brew. It's basically cacao beans, so chocolate. Who doesn't love chocolate? And they can be brewed or ground just like you might imagine a coffee bean. So it's just really rich, nourishing chocolate. It has less caffeine than coffee. And of course, it's kid-friendly, and it's just divine. So I love CRIO brew, and I love to make kind of a pumpkin spice latte out of that. I also like to throw in some pumpkin spice into some herbal teas that I make. So maybe if I'm looking for like an immune boosting herbal tea, I'll do like an elderberry tea and then throw in some of this pumpkin pie spice. Really nice blend. So I just like to throw it into any warm drink. Hot cocoa, your kids will love that. Make them a pumpkin pie hot cocoa drink, delicious. And then of course, anytime you might be baking a recipe that just calls for cinnamon, amp up the flavors and use the pumpkin pie spice instead. So you could throw it into pancakes, crepes. I have a really good pumpkin crepe recipe on my blog. If you're just making applesauce, instead of just cinnamon, throw in some pumpkin pie spice, delicious. So muffins, did I already mention that one? Any quick bread, anything that you might throw cinnamon or want that warm, deep flavor of pumpkin pie spice and all the nostalgic memories that go with that. Make sure you have a big batch of this on hand. So we're actually in early fall season right now, and it's actually still a bit warm outside. So the one thing I really like to make to kind of transition into this cooler season is a pumpkin smoothie. And I do have that recipe on my blog as well. It's actually full of hidden veggies and nourishing things, but it makes this delicious pumpkin pie smoothie. If I make it a little bit thicker, we'll make it into a smoothie bowl, top it with granola, some bananas, of course, sprinkle that pumpkin pie spice right on top. I think you'll love this recipe. It's a great quick breakfast or lunch or dinner. Pretty much any time of the day, you can make a pumpkin pie smoothie and everyone's gonna love it. Now, I just have to mention some of the more traditional fall dishes. You probably are already fully aware of these, but in case you're just not thinking about it, you don't want to miss out on these fall recipes. So pumpkin seeds. We love to roast pumpkin seeds. I have several recipes on my blog. Check that out. Wassail is another one I love to make, mostly because it makes the house smell so good. So wassail is a go-to. I have an Instant Pot recipe for wassail, which makes it super easy. Whenever we have family gatherings, I'd love to throw that in the Instant Pot, and then it just makes the house smell delicious and gives you a really yummy fall warm drink. Don't forget to make pumpkin pie. I will have to find the recipe and link it for you in the description. But I love this pumpkin pie recipe that has no artificial sweeteners. I think we just use some pure maple syrup. It is so good and it's extremely healthy. We will actually eat the leftovers for breakfast and feel pretty good about it. So that's a fun one. Of course, apple pie, applesauce, anything you can imagine with apples while they are in season is delicious. But I have to say, my absolute all-time favorite fall food to make that not many people actually make is fresh peach pie. So we have a very short window in our area where peaches are at their prime. I'm sure you probably have the same situation. And it is our absolute favorite time of the year because fresh peaches, there's nothing better. There's just absolutely nothing better. Of course, we're canning them to use throughout the rest of the year, but I try to make so many fresh peach pies or put fresh peaches on just about everything and as a side dish to everything. I want us to be so sick of fresh peaches by the time the season's over. That is usually my goal, and we usually get there. But I want to make the absolute most of that little window where fresh peaches taste incredible. So I do have a recipe on my blog for a fresh peach pie. You've got to try it. Just absolutely have to have it. All right, so fall usually brings us into soup season, which is wonderful. I love soups because it's a way for me to get vegetables into my kids without them really, tasting them or getting the texture, because you can blend them up and call it good. So I love soup season. But during the fall, I actually try to limit any soups that might have a lot of potatoes or squash. I like to preserve those recipes more for the winter because squash can usually sit and stay good until the winter season. And of course, potatoes, if you store them right, they can last a long time. So if we're trying to eat seasonally, Squash and potatoes, those things will really last a long time, and we want to preserve them for winter usage if possible. So the soups that I like to bring out in the early fall, or as we're approaching winter, are more the soups like chili, chicken noodle soup, just more of a lighter soup, I guess I should say, and avoiding more of the creamy ones and keeping those for winter. We loved grilled cheese with tomato soups to dip it in. There's a zucchini soup in my sister and I's cookbook called Master the Electric Pressure Cooker. That I love that zucchini soup. Of course, zucchinis are in abundance, so it's a great way to use that up, and it makes the most delicious green soup that I can actually get my kids to dip their grilled cheese in really well. It's super nourishing. So those are the fall soups that I usually try to make, and then I save the really creamy base thick ones, typically for winter time. Okay, let's talk about baking now. Fall is a fantastic time for baking. And I usually get more into the quick breads versus like more sourdough. I usually do more sourdough in the winter, and I feel like fall is a great time for the quick breads. You know, the pumpkin breads, the zucchini breads, the banana breads. I really like to pull those out, and I love them because there's so many recipes for quick breads and muffins and those kind of things that use whole grains, and they work really well. Whereas sourdough breads usually do not work well with whole grains. And so I really try to make the quick breads with whole grains, natural sweeteners. Then I feel good serving them for their lunches, for breakfasts. So anyways, that's kind of where my mind goes in the fall when I think about how can I use some of our produce that's going bad in quick breads and get some whole grains into our diets. Now, fall is all about food preservation for us. It's actually kind of a busy time of the year in that area. Of course, we're harvesting a lot from our garden, but we also have the mentality of winter's coming, we need to stock up and preserve food. So full swing food preservation happens for us in the fall, and I bet it does for you too. Even if you're just doing like some freezer jams or cutting up produce and blanching them and sticking them in the freezer like corn and peas and carrots, it's just really great to think about how can you preserve this season of abundance in the freezer and in the pantry so that you can enjoy it for longer. Some of our favorite things to can or freeze would be pie fillings. I love to make a whole bunch of apple pie fillings because it's so easy to make an apple pie throughout the year when the filling's already canned and made up. We do a ton of pumpkin puree. We love to plant those little, what are they called? The sweeter pumpkins in the garden that are meant for like pumpkin pie. They're just smaller. We plant a ton of those. It's quite the process to try to chop all that up. But it is so nice to have all those bottled. And I have to tell you, it tastes so much better than the store-bought pumpkin puree. So it's just worth it for us to do that. We make so much applesauce and bottled that. We freeze a lot of our peppers. I do prefer our garden peppers to just be chopped up and frozen. It's easy. And then I use that a lot in soups and things. We love to can salsa. That is something I did growing up and very much a tradition for us. We love to freeze corn. Squash, butternut squash, we use a ton in our recipes, so we'll chop that up and freeze it as well. Pickles. Anyway, I could go on, but we do a ton of food preservation. The other thing I like to really stock up on is a lot of our dried goods, like dried beans, wheat berries, grains. So I usually put in a really big order to Azure Standard during the fall season. In fact, it's usually my biggest order for the whole entire year. But I'm trying to think, you know, in case of emergency, in case things go bad and shut down in the winter, and the garden isn't producing, would we be okay with our food storage? So I really do stock up with pantry items in the fall, and it just makes me feel better going into the winter months, knowing that if something went bad and we couldn't get to the grocery stores, we have a lot of food storage, and we really can avoid unnecessary trips to the grocery store because we stock so much in the home. So I encourage you to do that. I did do a blog post where I assembled all my favorites from Azure Standard, and I have a YouTube video about Azure Standard and what I get there. So if that's your first hearing about it, definitely check those out. I will also leave a link for you to go check out Azure Standard. So really stock up in your home. Now, if you've been with me, you know I love herbs, and I'm really diving into medicinal herbs and learning a lot about that. So something I want to do this fall is go and harvest elderberries. I actually noticed we have a ton of shrubs in our area just along the road and up the canyon. So I'm going to go harvest a lot of elderberries this fall. I think they're almost ready, and we'll just juice them like we do grapes. Or choke cherries, and then I'll water bath those and preserve those so that we have elderberry syrup and elderberry juice to get us through the months where we really could use a boost to our immune system. The other thing that is super great to harvest is dandelion roots in the fall. And the reason for that is all the nutrients are going down into the roots, and instead of the greens and then the dandelion buds, and dandelion roots are so beneficial for our health. And I have a recipe on my blog for a dandelion root tea that is so good. You roast the dandelion roots, and it has this almost like deep roast coffee flavor. It's really quite delicious and one of my favorites to drink. So I plan on harvesting more dandelion roots. Even though I got a lot in the spring, I definitely want more of those to get us through the winter. Okay, my friend, let's talk about my absolute favorite topic when it comes to fall, and that is home decor or decorating. Fall is definitely a nesting stage for us as keepers of the home. Do you feel it? I think it is just an undeniable urge. We want to cozy up our home. We want to clean our home. We really have that nesting urge. Now, don't resist it, because I think it is like as much as part of nature as any instinct goes. So don't resist this nesting phase and go all in. And I think that is really why we see so many things marketed to homemakers and fun things for the homemaker to come and see, home decor goods and stuff, markets and things. So there's definitely something about it. So I hope you'll just jump in with those urges and really enjoy it. Now, I think fall is the absolute best time of the year for free foliage. You do not need to go to the grocery store and get, bouquets or flowers. The beauty outside is so abundant, and it's so easy to get clippings from outside to decorate our homes with, or our porches. You really can decorate for free so easily in the fall. It's one of my favorite time of the years to bring the outdoors in. So think tree branches. You can grab like the colorful leaves, bring those in. Yeah, they die and wilt kind of quickly, but you can just go out and get another branch, and it works great. I did a blog post once. I just had so much fun in our last house. Our last house was very, very white and bright. And I went out and clipped like some of the most vibrant branches, and like huge branches. And I decorated our home with it. It was totally unrealistic, but it was this creative itch I had. I just thought, what if? And so you'll have to check out that blog post. It is so beautiful to see these just this bright, vibrant color in my home. It was so much fun to do, but you can definitely do that on a smaller scale and have fun as well. Also look at like wheat clippings or grasses growing on the side of the roads, or if you have them in your yard, just clip some of that. It is so beautiful, just stuffed in a vase, just simple wheat or straw or grass clippings that have turned that golden brown. They're so beautiful. And I just find it so fascinating that weeds this time of the year, stuff that you wouldn't think was that beautiful, if you clip them and bring them in for your fall decor, it's amazing how beautiful weeds can look this time of year. So my tip is always carry branch clippers in your car, because you're going to be driving down the road and you're going to see some maybe like vibrant red or some beautiful grass clippings. You're going to want to pull over quick and clip them. Your family's going to think you're crazy, but once they see your plan and what you're going to do with them, they will understand. They'll probably still think you're crazy, but it's loads of fun. So keep clippers in your car during the fall at all times. One of my favorite areas to decorate during the fall season is the porch. And I think it's because so much happens around the porch this time of year. You know, we've got trick-or-treating or people come to visit. You really just want your porch spruced up. It's also one of the best times of the year to go out and sit on your porch and enjoy the crispy night air. I love decorating the porch, and really you do not have to overthink it. Some simple pumpkins placed here and there is enough. I tend to actually not enjoy the porches that are just full of crafty clutter. I know that's personal preference. I love my porch decor to be more naturalistic, and that is because fall is so beautiful by itself. We really don't have to do a whole lot. We don't have to spend a whole lot of money to spruce up our porch and make it feel like fall. So squash, pumpkins, heirloom pumpkins can just be so beautiful, just placed here and there around your porch, on the stairs. It's so beautiful. One of my favorite things to do if you have some empty planters is to you get 2 sizes of those heirloom pumpkins. And you can see on my blog an example, but you place one of the bigger ones on the bottom and then a smaller one right on top. And you're kind of creating a pumpkin topiary, if you will. It's super simple to do and looks so beautiful. And I'm really excited this year. We actually got some heirloom pumpkins to grow, and I cannot wait to sprinkle them on my porch. If you don't want to do pumpkins, here's another idea for you that I love to do. So once you've pulled out, your summer planters and you're ended up with a fresh planter, what I love to do is go to the nursery and get something that's evergreen, whether it's some kind of evergreen shrub like a boxwood or even a small tree. Put those in your planters out on your porch. And what is so awesome is that they'll stay green through fall and winter, and then you can plant them in the ground in the springtime. So I love to do that because that green shrub or tree is going to look great for several seasons. So you really don't have to rethink your planters in the winter at Christmas time. What I do is I plant the green shrub, and then when I have little mini pumpkins from the garden or I grab them from the grocery store, I can put those around the shrub at the base of the planter. And then at Christmas time, I like to take those pumpkins out and tuck in pine cones around it. So it's a really great idea if you're just trying to find something that will very effortlessly transition into all the seasons during fall and winter. So I would say of all the seasons, I usually tend to my porch the most during the fall season, and I'm so excited because this year my porch is actually going to be finished. It was the last space in this pole barn home that we have finished. And hubby is actually outside right now. If you're on the video podcast, you're probably seeing him walk back and forth in this window right here. But he is outside finishing up our porch swing that he made. So I am thrilled to have a finished porch, and I cannot wait to reveal it on my YouTube channel and my blog. So definitely stay tuned for that. And you can bet I'm going to bring in all the fall vibes for this reveal. So I'm so excited. But one of my favorite porches that I ever decorated was actually when we were living in a rental home, and it really didn't have a great porch, but there was this super old home across the street where this lonely elderly woman lived, and I went and knocked on her door once and said, "Can I decorate your porch?" She thought I was crazy until I explained that I actually do this for a living and I don't have a pretty porch, and I really want to decorate your porch because it's so charming. That was one of my favorite blog posts of all time. So you'll have to go over on my blog and check out how I decorated her porch with just simple sage greens and whites. It was so pretty. So that's been one of my favorite porches to decorate, and was all out of just naturalistic items. Hardly cost me a dime, and she loved it, and we became fast friends after that. So really fun to do that. Okay, so moving inside, let's talk about the linens. And if you guys probably know, I am obsessed with anything fabric, linen. It's just been something that I've loved since a child. So I really am intentional about the linens that I bring in with each season, and fall is a really fun one. For the summer, I tend to have less. You don't need a lot of throw blankets, you don't need a lot of pillows, but for fall, More is more. Bring it on. Bring on all the pillows, the cozy fall pillows, the cozy throw blankets. I'm here for that. So it's fun to think of like your warmer tones for your pillow covers and blankets. If you have like ones that you pull out every year, that's totally okay. Don't feel like you need to go out and buy all new ones. If you want to buy a new one here and there through the years, that's totally fine. But just keep some warmer toned pillow covers and throws and bring them out for the fall season. It's an instant way to help your family be like, oh, fall's coming, and they love it and it feels cozy in the home. Fall is about the only time I like the oranges, and so it's fun to bring those out. I do like more of the deep copper oranges and things more than the bright bold oranges, but it's really fun to bring those into my home. And when you have a home that's just kind of neutral base anyway, you can bring in those seasonal colors and it works great. If you're like me and you love neutrals, welcome friend, this is your season. So like creamy whites and browns and different tones of browns, oh, they look so good in the fall. And usually if you're a neutral loving gal, you're okay with greens. So bring in some darker greens. It works so great with all those neutrals. But let's talk about some fun fall color palettes. I've had a lot of fun playing with different fall color combinations throughout the years. One really creative one that I did once was I used pinks and coppers. Super unique, but you'll have to check that out on the blog. It was a very fun combo, something I did more towards the early fall because I had these like pink hydrangeas in bloom. And so I brought those in the house and mixed them with a lot of coppers. I thought it was one of the most beautiful falls I've ever done. I love mixing like the sage greens and whites like I told you I did for my neighbor's porch. That's a really pretty color combo. You can find those green heirloom pumpkins and the white heirloom pumpkins. Mix that in with like a sage green wreath. It just is so warm and inviting. I would say for summer and spring, you're seeing more of the vibrant greens, but when you tone it down and kind of add some gray green, it really feels like fall to me. I love mixing like deep oranges and yellows. It's about the only time of year I'll play with those colors, but it's super fun. I love mixing browns and blues. They work great together. You can see I did some pillow cover tutorials where I used brown and blue plaids. I thought it was really pretty. I love to mix navy blue and sage green, so you can still play with blues and greens. I know a lot of us really love those two colors. So if you kind of deepen the blue and add some gray into your greens, those two colors work really well for fall. They feel super cozy. Another favorite is to do the pale orange and creamy whites. So grab those pale orange heirloom pumpkins with the creamy whites as well, and then play around with those colors in your linens and it can look super pretty. Of course, blue and orange, they're complementary colors. They will always go great together, so you can play with that. Maybe some navy blue throw blankets with your orange pumpkins outside on the porch. Super pretty color combo. And I just have to mention some patterns here that are just fall favorites. I go all in with the plaids and the ginghams. You can see I've got my gingham flannel on today because I basically switched to that in my wardrobe. I've got my summer dresses tucked away that help me survive the heat of the summer. And now I want all the cozy plaid and gingham button-ups. I have like probably one for every day of the week. It's just my go-to. And I think, you know, when you have seasonal wardrobes like that you can switch out, it's also another way to kind of bring in that nostalgia and those memories and that vibe for your family. So don't overthink your wardrobe when you're thinking about linens. Basically, you are your home. So as you walk around and your family sees you wearing these seasonal clothes, it can help with the vibe as well. But another fun way to bring in these patterns is definitely bring in plaid and gingham pillow covers, throw blankets, tea towels, bathroom towels if you can find those. I like to just like hang jackets or like these plaid shirts by the doors or the entryways. It just kind of gives that fall vibe. So if you have some plaid shirts to spare, just hang them up by your door and buy plaid jackets for the season. And I think what you wear will just seamlessly work into your decor. Fall is a really great time for hanging wreaths on your doors, and you can do it free. One year we had a boxwood bush that was dying and it was like this beautiful gold color. So I clipped those dead boxwoods and made a wreath out of them. And I loved those wreaths, and they actually preserved for several years. So get outside and look at the foliage that is available and make wreaths out of it. And if you don't like to make your own, I actually feel like of all the seasons in Hobby Lobby, of all the fake flowers that you can find there, I think you can get away with fake fall foliage more than any time of year. It looks the most realistic, and I've bought fake fall wreaths from Hobby Lobby before and really enjoyed them. So if you're okay with fake, definitely go to Hobby Lobby or Michael's or any of your craft stores and feel okay about buying those wreaths. Now, when you are also thinking about cozying up your home for fall, definitely think of the smells. And most people love to buy fall candles, but I'm telling you, they are not good for the air. Even like the soy-based ones, they're putting stuff in the air that you really don't want to be breathing. But it's so nice to have that cozy smell, right? So I suggest using essential oils, because the essential oils that are good for fall are delicious, and they are just a surefire way to bring in those yummy smells in a more healthy way. So some of the oils that I love to have for this time of year are the cinnamon, the nutmeg, clove, vanilla, orange, any kinds of those like sweet, spicy, aromatic oils combine so well together and work so great for the fall. And the thing is, a lot of essential oils, they don't last very long in the air, but these ones for fall, like the cinnamon, the clove, they can really smell up your home and they last. So I love using essential oils in the fall. And I actually have on my blog, I believe, a room spray idea for you. So you can mix some of these essential oil blends that are great for fall in a spray bottle. And you can spray your linens with it. You can spray the air. You can spray yourself if you want to smell like a craft store. Definitely just spray your clothes and you smell like grandma's house after she's been baking. So anyway, I am unashamed. I definitely use my room sprays for perfume in the fall. You can also blend a lot of oils and just use them in the diffusers in different rooms in your home, and it will smell your home up lovely. I have a blog post with 10, I believe, different essential oil blends that work great for the fall. So you'll definitely want to check that out. Now, fall, I feel, is the time of the year where I actually do the deepest cleaning. I know a lot of people traditionally think of spring as your deep cleaning time. That has never made sense to me. I do a lot of cleaning in the spring, or actually all year long, but fall is really when I get into that major nesting stage and I want to deep clean. And I think it's because I know we're about to hunker down and I don't want the clutter and the dust and the mess from summer to just carry us through the fall and winter. So that's usually when I'm like washing slipcovers, washing drapes, bedding, definitely like washing every piece of bedding in the room. And I really try to get, baseboards cleaned and bathrooms scrubbed. I feel like it's a very good time of the year to do some deep cleaning and also clean out those wardrobes. We're going into a new season. You're going to need to put away your summer clothes. Definitely go through your wardrobes, your kids. That's a big project, but it's definitely worth it to get rid of the things that won't work for the colder months and then pull out your sweaters and things. All right, moving on from your home, let's just talk about some activities that you can do. And I actually have one of my favorite blog posts that I ever did. I made this fun printable, 30 days of fall fun. And it kind of works like a countdown, like a Christmas countdown, which I'm sure you're familiar with. But it's just this pack of cards that you can make and just keep out for your family to just get them thinking about activities and things they can do in the fall to really enjoy that season. So if you want that help, you want lots of ideas, definitely go over to my blog and check that out. I will link it for you. But I think it's a really fun idea to have kind of these ideas sitting out for your family to like, what can we do tonight? That is a great fall activity. You pull out one of these cards and you have an idea there. But of course, we have the obvious activities that you can do in the fall, like corn mazes, visit the pumpkin patch, go to an apple orchard and pick some apples, hay rides. A lot of times your community really offers a ton of activities for the fall. But here are some other ideas that may not be so obvious. So we love to go on walks in the fall. It's our absolute favorite time of the year to go on family walks. And my kids often bring like a basket or a bag and they collect really beautiful, vibrant leaves. And then we come home and do crafting with them. But it's such a beautiful time of year that we just want to be outside as much as possible because we know winter's coming. So I love fall evening walks or fall morning walks. There's just no better time of the year to be outside and soaking it all in. And I love going to like the farmer markets this time of the year. I feel like that's when the produce is just all being gathered in and the farmers have so much to offer. It's also just a great way to feel those fall vibes. Go and see the beautiful abundance that summer has brought us and enjoy the harvest that so many people have worked hard for. So definitely go support your farmers and the gardeners in your area and visit the farmers markets. Now, one of my favorite things to do is go to the vintage market days, which we have in our area. You may have something similar, but usually there's like a lot of holiday markets or fall markets that pop up. And I think it's because they know women are in that nesting phase. They want to shop, they want to create. And so a lot of these vintage markets or craft markets are really available this time of year. And I love them. I am all there for that. It gets me in such a fall mood that it's my favorite thing to do when that comes to town. Now, I don't love to do like campfires in the summer, actually. It's just too hot. So we love to do like s'mores nights or campfires during the fall season, roast some s'mores or create some tinfoil dinners, roast hot dogs, and roast them on a fire outside. It's so cozy and it's just so enjoyable to be out there when the air is crisp and you've got a fire going. And then I love to do more extended family gatherings this time of year because the kids can be outside and it's not so hot. And anyway, it's just a really fun time to gather with family. We love picnics. We love to all get a warm drink and head outside on the porch and just sit there and watch the sunset. And then thanks to my grandmother who always did this for us grandkids, we love to rake the leaves and jump in them and enjoy that activity. Okay, the last area for us to talk about is personal growth. And you may think this is an interesting thing to talk about when we're talking about seasonal living in the fall, but I feel like fall is extremely important for the homemaker, and it kind of sets a tone for the rest of the year for us, and it's very important. And if you think about this, like the seasons of our lives, fall is usually the season when it's compared to leading up to, I guess, death or the end of a life. It's kind of this aging season. And if you think about that, that means it's a season kind of where you go internal and you're thoughtful and maybe you're not so social and active. It's kind of this season, not quite of rest, but of nesting and going inwards. And so it's really important that we kind of live in that season in the fall as well. I often compare the luteal phase of a woman's cycle. It's the phase that happens right after ovulation. So ovulation is more of a social, active, outgoing stage. And then we have the luteal phase, which a lot of people just say it's the PMS stage, but I've found it so interesting to learn more about this phase of our month and how it compares to the season of the year, which is fall. And it's so interesting because when we are in the luteal phase, we have those nesting instincts. We have those creative urges. We don't really want to be out and being social as much as most of the other times of the month. So it's all a very important phase when we think about fall, how it compares to our female cycles, how it compares to the season of our lives. So try to think about that as you're thinking about how important your personal growth is during this time of year, because if you neglect it, you might actually start to feel like other parts of your life aren't feeling balanced. So here's some ideas for you to just really lean into that nesting phase and that creative phase and enjoy it during the fall season. Definitely use the fall season to explore your creativity. And this is just nature in us. And I think you'll feel it now that you're more aware of it, but get creative. Start crafting, decorate. And I think it's great that this leads up to the holiday season. And I actually encourage you, if you do a lot of like homemade gifts for Christmas, it might actually serve you better to do a lot of that during the fall season instead of waiting for winter. I think you'll find it more fulfilling and more in tune with nature that's happening here. So get creative in the kitchen. This may be a great time for you to explore new recipes and things. And definitely go more inward during the fall. Now, there are lots of fun social things to be had in the fall, but pay attention to the need to maybe go more inward and be more reflective. So when you have time to just kind of rest and relax, make the most of it. Wear your cozy clothes. This is a great time of year to pull out books that you've been wanting to read all year. There really is no better time to get cozy, enjoy the earlier darkness of the days, and take time to read books and learn things. Make sure you're giving your body some nourishing foods, because as we lead up to winter and the season of illness, it's going to be even more important to nourish your body, strengthen your immune system, and be prepared for that. This is a great time of year to like journal, or my daughter loves to do like creative calendar pages or journal pages. That's kind of how she embraces that creative itch and that inward reflection. So think about how you can journal and get creative that way, and just give yourself some time to think about life, to process the year, and prepare for more of a hibernating stage of year as winter is coming. It's a great time to learn a new skill. If you've been wanting to learn how to sew, maybe knit, maybe bake with sourdough. I mean, can you really think of a better time of year where you have more of an opportunity to learn these things and get creative? I really can't think of them. So definitely enjoy that about this fall season. All right, I also think fall is a really great time to kind of clean up some loose ends in your life. It's a great time to think about maybe who do you need to forgive, or what kind of thoughts do you need to let go. And I think it's a good time for that because we're about to move into winter where we kind of hibernate, if you will. And we don't want to just be sitting on some really negative feelings. So use this time to just try to let some things that are really weighing you down go, if at all possible. It's a great time to get really reflective about your life and reprioritize some things before you get into the busy holiday season. So get out the journal and really think about those things. I also feel like it's a great time to plan and prepare for what is sometimes a very busy holiday season. So get yourself grounded. And there is really no better time of the year to do that than fall. Finally, I think it is a great time of the year for service opportunities. And this helps you not only with your personal growth, but it's a great way to teach your kids to think outside of themselves and notice those around them who may benefit from some of your service. So because we're making some really great things in the kitchen, maybe peach pies, pumpkin pies, apple pies, those quick breads we talked about, double the recipe and bring your kids out with you to deliver it to someone who you feel inspired to give that to. It's just a great time of the year for food. So why not share it and brighten someone's day? There's also so much need for service this time of year, whether that's raking leaves or helping someone who is not all that capable of cleaning up their yard and preparing for winter and putting things away and moving things out. Definitely consider those in your community who could use a little bit of service. I know for the youth group in our church, that's often when we schedule days for raking leaves around our neighborhood or helping out with those yard projects. So maybe you can get a group together and do that for your community and those people who may need that help. I really think there's no better way for personal growth than to think of others and how you can serve them. So try to bring that into your fall traditions as well, and it will just set a really nice tone for the season. All right, my friends, that was plenty for you to think about. If you have ideas for us, please leave them in the comments on my video on YouTube or in the reviews. I would love to hear from you. Or go ahead and connect with me on Instagram at TIDBITS Company and share some of your ideas with me. I would love to hear how you make the most of fall season. I really hope that you have gotten excited and will find plenty of ways to enjoy this season. I think fall is an absolute gift for the homemaker, so let's make the most of it. Thank you so much for listening today, and I will be back very soon to share more inspiration for the keeper of the home.